Hello, I am Xarkun. This is World of Warships Legends. Today I bring you a video on the new Tier VII Russian battleship Vladivostok, a ship that I have been very excited about for the past couple of weeks, and now I finally have it. We're going to take a look at my commander setup, my mod setup, the stats on the ship, and then we will jump into some gameplay. So, first off, we've got Mikhail Kedrov, level 14, running the ship for us. Got level 16 Cunningham and level 16 Hyde as inspirations. I'll make a note that this is not quite the same build that I was using in the gameplay portion of this video. A couple things were different. I don't think I was using Hyde as the second inspiration, and I was using collective labor instead of volunteer, because at the time Kedrov was only level 11 for me. So at level 14, this volunteer skill gives you +2 damage control party charges, which, you know, the Russian battleships have a limited number of fast cycling damage control party charges, and I think it's always better to have more than to have fewer. So once I hit level 14, I switched from collective labor to volunteer. And this basically is the build that I've settled on. This is the build I like for the ship, and it's one that I'm probably going to continue using pretty much unchanged into the future. I've had a fair bit of success with it. Alright, now my mod selection here. We've got Aiming Systems Mod 1 to tighten up the dispersion of the main battery, along with Cunningham as an inspiration. I feel like this ship benefits from this mod and the Cunningham inspiration more than maybe its predecessor, the Sinop, did. The dispersion doesn't seem to be as laser focused with the Vladivostok as I felt like you got on the Sinop. Second, I've gone with Damage Control Systems Mod 2 because I feel like this ship gets set on fire quite a bit, and I want to reduce that fire duration. Also helps with the fast cycling damage controls being limited. If I don't want to put out a fire or two fires right away, you know, they'll last for less time. Although I think you could make a good argument for steering gears, and I'll show you why when we look at the stats. Third slot, I don't have Target Acquisition Systems Mod 1 installed because it's 2 million silver and I don't have 2 million silver, and it's always my last priority in terms of mods to install on battleships, although the increased torpedo detectability range would be nice on this ship, so I will install it eventually. Then we've got Main Battery Mod 3 to decrease the reload time of the main battery, which at base is 33 seconds and therefore extremely slow. Rest of the ship is fully upgraded. Let's take a look at the stats. First, survivability, 77,570 hit points. Keep in mind that that is achieved with Henry J. Hyde, level 16 +2, I think, as an inspiration. But even without him, the Vladivostok has the highest hit points, or the deepest hit points pool at Tier 7 in terms of battleships and all the rest of the ships, I guess. It's 73,600 base, so it's pretty high up there. Now the armor says 19 to 425 millimeters. No idea what that means, but I can tell you that unlike the Sinop, the Vladivostok has 32 millimeter bow armor, which means no part of it can be overmatched by 15 or 16-inch guns, although when the Yamato makes its reappearance, that ship will be able to overmatch the Vladivostok's bow armor and the bow armor of every other Tier 7 battleship in the game, for that matter. Main battery, 9 16-inch or 406mm guns. They fire out to a range of 16.9 kilometers and reload in 29 seconds with the Main Battery Mod 3. 180-degree turn time of 32.8 seconds. It is a lot slower without Kedrov, and I think that is one of the main arguments for using Kedrov on this ship. to decrease that 180-degree turn time and get the guns on target quicker. HE shell, maximum damage 5,850, 41% chance to start a fire, which is right up there with the Vanguard. I think the Vanguard also enjoys a 41, maybe it's 42% chance to start fire. AP, maximum shell damage 13,100, pretty comparable to the Iowa or the Alabama if you're not modifying that damage number by using gyrating drill bits on your commander or using Celiacs or someone as an inspiration. Secondaries, by the way, also pretty decent. It's got 12 152mm secondaries, which are, cruiser level guns. Those are the same size guns as those that are found on the Kutuzov and Chapayev, and they have the same chance to start targets on fire as those ships do, or at least as the Kutuzov does. So that's pretty nice in terms of a secondary armament. Those are some big guns for secondaries. Maximum speed 29 knots, pretty fast actually, up there on the higher end of the tier. Turning circle radius 950 meters. Obviously that's huge because the ship is huge. It's a very long ship, so it turns much like an Iowa. Rudder shift time 13.7 seconds, which is pretty slow. I might change out the damage control mod for the rudder shift mod. We'll see. I think 13.7 seconds is doable, although the ship is pretty sluggish in my current setup. Although it's not slow. It's not sluggish as in slow, it just turns sluggishly. Concealment, 15.3 kilometer detectability by sea. What do you expect? It's a gigantic battleship, so of course everybody is going to see it. And I guess that's it there for the stats, so let's jump into the gameplay now. Okay, so we are going to be on Land of Fire. Capture the base mode in the Vladivostok. And I want to say something before this game really gets started. Notice the 3 destroyer division on my team here. I don't really want to tell you all how to play the game when you are in a division, but if you are going to choose to be in a division of 3 destroyers, I don't know, the experience might be fun for you. There they are, all out over there in the center of the map. But when people play divisions, they tend to stick together. And since all 3 of our destroyers are in a division, if you watch the minimap, you'll notice that they are going to generally stay right in that area, right in the center of the map, very near toward the base. And I think they might end up providing a nice defense for the base as the enemy pushes on the other side of the map. But, they're not out here spotting for us. And we are forced to spot the targets ourselves. That's not really a problem when it comes to battleships, because if you can see them, they can see you. But if there are enemy destroyers or enemy cruisers about, you definitely want your friendly destroyers out here with you on these flanks, pushing up, trying to spot targets for you. And these guys are not doing that, which puts my team at a disadvantage. And I assume the enemy destroyers are not all clustered up together in one part of the map, and they are out spotting for their team. So that's going to make it tricky for us. Now, I probably should tell you that this game is one of the earlier games I played in the Vladivostok. So you'll notice that I only have 70,940 hit points. I guess I probably am using Hyde as the inspiration. I think I said I wasn't, but I probably am here. And obviously I don't have the hull upgrade installed. I think I do actually have the artillery upgrade installed, so this is the max firing range on my build anyway, 16.9 kilometers I think it is. Bismarck is just in the side of it. We, take that shot, 4 of the shells hit him for 14,000 damage, which is a pretty good opening salvo. We're going to try and get the rear guns on target, but the Bismarck is 16 kilometers away, sailing away from us, so he's going to sail outside of our effective firing range, and that probably wouldn't have been a very lucrative shot, so we just don't take it. Gonna push forward a little bit more now. Again, we are in a situation where the 3 destroyer division is clustered in the center of the map, not out here spotting for us. So we need to play this very cautiously. We really don't know what's out here. Bismarck giving flat broadside, so all 3 guns shots are out. We're not looking to see how they land, but we get 3 penetrations and it bumps our damage total from 14 to 27,000. So this is a pretty good hit. I'm going to turn here in between these 2 islands, starting to turn rather early because, of course, you know, this thing turns pretty sluggishly. Sinop out there taking shots at us, Bismarck too. Only a few of those shells hit us, but they bounce off our incredibly tanky armor. And Sinop was broadside, but good for him. He turned away, bounced all 3 of those shells that hit. Had they struck and penetrated the armor, it probably would have been a pretty decent hit. So, yeah. You know, much like the Sinop, this Vladivostok does, I think, have a pretty exposed citadel. And if you turn to expose broadside to battleships with 15, 16-inch guns, they are going to be able to easily access that citadel and send you back to port very quickly. The same is true of all of the other ships in the Russian line. Now, the Sinop is behind the island there, so we are going to continue our advance. We bounce even more of his shells. Several shells have hit us, but we have taken exactly 0 hit points of damage. So you can see this armor has absolutely no problem bouncing 16-inch shells. Bow can't be overmatched, so you can point your bow directly at the enemy ships and have the shells just completely bounce off. You don't need to worry about angling so much like you do in the Sinop with its 26mm upper bow armor. And there's a Udachi. Exactly the reason I would have preferred the friendly destroyers to be out here spotting. Not entirely sure what this Udachi is doing. Looks like he is launching torpedoes in the other direction, but I'm sure he has realized that a big hulking battleship is right in front of him. So, gonna start maneuvering now to hopefully dodge any torpedoes he may launch at us. Rear guns do hit him. Secondaries are going off. Have scored 1 hit so far with no damage. I assume that's probably the 100mm guns that are hitting him. We do get an incapacitation shot, and we manage to dodge most of that torpedo salvo, only taking 1. That could have been death right there. Udachi has no health left. Hopefully one of these secondaries is going to hit him and take him out, but I don't think we're going to get that lucky. Like I said, these secondaries are not what you would call accurate. Although, when those 152mm guns do hit, they do inflict damage. A lot of the time. I mean, essentially, you know, you have 12 152mm secondary guns, exactly the same number as you would find on the Kutuzov or Chapayev. So, basically, oh my gosh, 2 citadels, 31,000 damage. The Sinop demonstrates to us why you don't give flat broadside in these Russian battleships. You get punished very easily, and right now we're up to 71,000 damage done, which is pretty decent. Just made that damage total higher with a 4K salvo on that Sinop. Anyway, the 152mm secondaries, you got 12 of them. That's kind of like having a Kutuzov or a Chapayev strapped to your ship for free. Unfortunately, those secondaries don't shoot quite as far as those cruisers do. I am pinging my team to defend the base. There are 3 destroyers right there. I have no idea why the base is not being defended. I am getting a little irritated with the destroyer division there. Bismarck, though, sailing around the corner. Now a distraction for me, keeping my mind off the base. I hit him for 13k. that German turtleback armor is functional now, which is nice, so it prevents him from taking a citadel. Had that been a citadel, that might have been lights out for him. But, you know, when you're in these German battleships, maybe you should consider angling, because your turtleback armor doesn't make you invincible. And, you know, just in case you're not convinced that it doesn't, here is another, I think that is like 17, 18k there. There's another catastrophic salvo to further drive home that point. The Bismarck is shooting back. You'll notice that most of his shells are bouncing off our armor. We are giving a little bit of a broad angle too, so you can see that this ship, in terms of deflecting enemy shells, is a lot more forgiving than the Sinop was. Bismarck now is dead, and we have got a New Orleans, no, not a New Orleans, an Indianapolis sailing 5 kilometers in front of us. I've seen a lot of these ships lately, and they are very dangerous. If you see one of them, you need to make it one of your #1 priorities, because of course it comes equipped with radar, and I think it has a very long range on that radar. So the guns are about to be reloaded. Indianapolis giving us flat broadside. Naturally, because he's giving us flat broadside, we get 5 overpens and don't kill him. So, lucky him. And now, if you've ever watched any of my streams, you know that when my turret gets taken out like that, I tend to get a little bit salty. And this ship, well, if I ever take it out on a stream, I guess you're going to see salty Xarkun quite a bit, because these turrets are squishy as hell. Honestly, it's kind of baffling, right? I mean, you've seen this armor bounce 16-inch gun shells and protect me from taking even a single hit point of damage. So this thing has incredibly tanky armor, but the turret armor apparently is not very tanky, because these turrets get taken out in, I'm not exaggerating, literally every single game I've played in this ship. They get taken out at least once. It's, you know, the Jean Bart, his turrets also get taken out very easily, as I just demonstrated there. But I feel like the Vladivostok's turrets get taken out even more easily than the Jean Bart. Don't ask me why. I don't really get it. I suppose it is an attempt to balance the ship. I mean, like I said, incredibly tanky armor. This Jean Bart, if he's going to shoot at my bow right there, can do absolutely nothing to me. Only his secondaries are hitting me and starting fires. Take out his guns there again. So, I suppose if you're going to have incredibly tanky bow armor that can deflect pretty much any damage, then I guess you gotta balance that out by having really squishy turrets that get taken out very easily. So yeah, when you're playing this ship, expect your turrets to be taken out, and sometimes you're gonna want to use your damage control to fix that occasionally. It is kind of a pain. Now, the Jean Bart didn't go for the ram, thankfully, and his guns are facing the wrong way. He gives me the perfect shot to hit him right where his citadel would be. No citadel, but we do permanently take out one of his guns. I think both of his guns are actually destroyed right now. And because we were distracted in our entanglement with the Jean Bart, we're not really maneuvering, paying attention to the torpedoes, and a torpedo salvo comes, takes us out of the game, and that is what we end on right there. 100 and I believe 66,000 damage, but I think a decent demonstration of what the Vladivostok is capable of, and as a bonus, a demonstration of why your destroyers shouldn't be clumped up all together. I mean, I can't complain too much. This game is going to be a win, despite the actions of the 3-man destroyer division, but would have been nice if they were out there countering the enemy destroyers. Maybe I wouldn't have taken those torpedoes. Still, Can't argue with the results. I will say before the video ends here that I really do enjoy this ship quite a bit. It feels like a natural upgrade from its predecessor, the Sinop. It's got better armor, you don't have to worry too much about angling. It's got fantastic guns that deal wicked amounts of damage if you can shoot them into broadside targets, especially broadside battleships. Although because the shells are so large and the penetration values are so great, they do sometimes tend to overpenetrate cruisers, so gotta be careful of that. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for us here. I'm going to cut to the results screen now. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.